I pimped out high school girls for 2 years. One of them was my sister. Ask me anything. Of all the bad things I did in my drug-using, partying days, this has to be my worst. When I was in my early 20s, I dated a high school freshman, and whether it was just because of my influence or whether there were other factors in play, I'll never know. But she was a really screwed up girl. I didn't care. Back then, all I cared about was coke, ecstasy, partying, and fucking. Mary was into all of that, but there was a problem. We didn't have much money. She was just a kid, and I barely made $250 a week at my shitty landscaping job. One day, I had her with me while I was picking up some X, and my dealer, stoned as fuck, told us he'd give us 2 extra pills if she slept with him. It took some convincing, but Mary eventually agreed, and that was the first time I pimped a girl out. She wasn't the only one, or the one I most regret. Like I said, Mary was a screwed up girl before I met her. I'm not saying I didn't make things worse for her, but I'm positive what ended up happening to her wasn't entirely my fault. The ones I regret most aren't even the friends she helped me recruit from her school after Mary became a proper prostitute. Most of them were also sort of crazy already, or else Mary wouldn't have been able to convince them to work for me. The one I regret the most is my sister. She was 15 the first time she asked me for drugs, just marijuana, which I had plenty of, but I convinced her it cost 10 times what it did. Keep in mind, I was on something practically all the time at this point and had grown used to seeing young women as a means to make cash. I was absolutely without remorse or guilt. So, she paid with saved up allowance money, something like $100 for 2 joints. Eventually, I brought her to her first rave and even paid for everything, including the ecstasy. While she was rolling hard, I told a friend of mine to massage her, and when she began to complain that he was touching her too much, I told her to stop being a baby and just enjoy it. I watched my sister lose her virginity that night to a guy I barely remember anymore. He paid me $100 later for that. It wasn't long before she became my constant companion at parties, raves, and even clubs. Our parents were trying to control her by grounding her, but I convinced her to sneak out all the time. She and my 2 main girls, including Mary, would go out and get high, and then I'd hook them up with someone. I would take the majority of the money, and they never complained because they were scared of me for a couple of reasons. They were scared I might hurt them because, yes, I barely remember doing so, but while coked out, I was known for getting violent. They were also scared whenever I threatened to leave them or cut them off. They saw me do that to a few of their friends, and they didn't want that to happen. This went on for 2 years. It ended after my sister was arrested for possession and solicitation. I had the bright idea that my girls should be getting their own jobs, so I started bringing them to clubs where I knew the bouncers and sent them in to find customers for their services. It worked well for a few short weeks until my sister got caught up in a police raid. They arrested dozens of people that night, my sister included, but she was by far the youngest. After that, only Mary remained of my girls. The rest were scared now, and my sister was in a drug treatment center. I tried getting some of them back, even some of the ones I'd gotten rid of before, but I was circling the drain and they seemed to know it. Suddenly, I wasn't the cool older guy, I was the loser druggy guy. What finally got me to change was the day I brought Mary over to one of my dealer's friend's place. This friend was supposedly really into young redheads and would pay $300 for some fun with her. My dealer vouched for him, but I brought Mary there myself anyways because I wanted the money. I was back to being broke and I needed cash desperately. So I brought her to this sketchy neighborhood and walked her to the door. Funny thing is, Crazy Mary was, for once, nervous and suggested we forget about this dude. I insisted though, and by now, she always listened to me. When we entered the room, I knew something was off. There were 3 guys there, and they had flashlights. They said something about the power being off, and I stupidly believed them enough to let them lead me into the main room. Mary was freaking out at this point, probably because she realized what I hadn't. This house wasn't theirs. Hell, it was an abandoned house. No furniture, total mess, all fucked up. Before all that registered to me, I was attacked. They beat the shit out of me. I barely remember any of it. I do remember being strapped into a gurney and hearing a paramedic say that my lung was punctured. Turns out, he was wrong, but I was in enough pain to believe it. I spent the next few days in the hospital being treated for a variety of things, including a concussion that required them drilling a hole into my skull, broken ribs, a broken hand that never healed correctly, and of course, heroin withdrawals. When the police spoke with me, I refused to answer any questions until they asked me if I knew that my friend Mary had been assaulted as well. Turns out, she had been violently R-worded while I was unconscious. They beat the hell out of her too. I think that's the first time I honestly felt guilt about what I'd been doing for nearly 2 years. Not even my sister getting arrested had been enough to make me realize what a fucking asshole I was. But being shown the pictures of Mary's face, all swollen and bruised, made me cry like a girl. I told the police everything about my dealer friend and how he set up the date with Mary that night, but nothing ever came of it. The dealer kept his mouth shut, and even though they raided his house, they only found a little pot. No money, guns, or heavy drugs. He got a slap on the wrist. Yeah, I cleaned up after that. I've been drug-free for 5 years now, but Mary, last I heard, is still a heavy user. My sister got clean and is now in college, but she's had a string of abusive boyfriends, and I know that's probably my fault. I was her big brother, and I taught her that men only wanted her for sex, and she had a hard time unlearning that lesson. The other girls I barely even remember, and am too much of a coward to try and track down. Reading some of the comments, I see a lot of people try to be sympathetic and try to give advice for OP to be a better person in the future. I just don't see that being a possibility. I mean, yeah, sure, it would be better for society if this person did in fact get better, but at the end of the day, this is a literal pedophile. I mean, to start off the story, he was 20 years old and dating a freshman in high school, and then he pimped out his 15-year-old sister, and she didn't stop until she was 17. I love this comment right here that says, "And I feel bad when I don't hold the door for someone." There really is levels to this, you know? I mean, I feel horrible when I don't say sorry, or in this case, I don't hold the door for somebody. And you have other people like OP who don't feel sorry until something really bad, and the whole thing is really bad, don't get me wrong, but to the point where they get jumped, right? The first girl that he ever prostituted gets R-worded. I mean, it's just, that's terrible. Another comment says, "Wow, I've been subbed to this for a while, but this might honestly be the worst I've ever heard. The sheer damage you've done to other human beings is astounding. This dude fundamentally changed the life trajectory of a ton of young girls. And to try to put my head inside of OP, I can totally understand how, okay, these people are crazy. They would have went down that path already, even without me. But I don't know, man. I feel like you launched that super fast. I mean, you took them from just regular drug users to prostitutes." Confession number 2. I haven't told anyone this, and I don't know if I ever will, but I need to get it out. Last year, my little brother, he was 19, got into a bad car accident. He was driving drunk after a fight with our dad. He hit a tree, spent 3 months in hospital, lost his right leg below the knee. Doctors said he was lucky to be alive. The thing is, I knew he was drinking that night. He texted me at 1 a.m. saying he was fucked up and needed a ride home. I was tired, had work early, so I told him to sleep it off at his friend's place or call an Uber. I didn't want to deal with it. He said, "Okay, whatever," and that was it. He didn't call an Uber. He drove. Now he has a prosthetic, can't do half the things he used to love, and every time he looks at me, I feel like he knows it was my fault even though he never said it. Our parents don't know he texted me. They think he just got in the car stupidly. I wake up every day feeling like I killed a part of him. I smile and help him with physio and bring him food, but inside, I'm screaming. I don't think I'll ever forgive myself. This is a short confession and probably not the most entertaining, but I felt like it was a good read just because a lot of people fall into this habit of blaming themselves when other people get into really bad accidents because they feel like they could have done something to prevent it or make the situation better. But no, OP specifically told him, hey, grab an Uber, go chill at a friend's house, do something responsible. It was completely on the brother to get into the car and drive. And while I understand emotions are high, he's drunk, he's fighting his dad, he's not in the right state of mind. Me personally, I have never been in a situation where I was so drunk, and I've been super drunk before. I've never been drunk enough and considered getting in my car to start driving. OP just gave him advice, and the brother decided not to take it. Confession number 3. I ignored my best friend's last call because I assumed he was high again. I have an old phone in a drawer because of 4 missed calls. 1:14, 1:19, 1:27, 1:31, all from my best friend. We'd known of each other since we were 12. He was basically family. The kind of friends who knew where the spare key was, what to say to my mom when she was in a mood, what kind of beer I'd bring before I even got there. For most of my life, if he said his name, mine came right after. Then he got hurt at work, got put on pain meds, and everything started sliding. Not all at once, that would have almost been easier. It was slower than that. First, it was him being tired all the time, then borrowing money, then lying, then disappearing for 3 days and coming back with some story that made no sense but sounded practiced. I spent 2 years picking him up off floors, talking him out of dumb shit, covering for him with his sister, driving in the detox twice, lending him money I knew I'd never see again, answering calls at 1 in the morning because what if this was a time it was actually serious. That last part matters, because by the end, every call felt serious. Every text was, please pick up. I swear this time is different. I just need you for 10 minutes. And I was so tired, not angry, just worn clear through. The night he died, he called me at 1:14, then 1:19, then 1:27, then 1:31. After the 4th call, he sent one text. Pick up, please. I didn't. I remember thinking, if I answer, I'm getting dragged into another 5-hour disaster where he cries, lies, asks for money, swear he's done, and I still go to work exhausted while he sleeps it off. So, I turned the phone face down and went back to sleep. His sister called me at 6:40 in the morning. He left her a voicemail too, drunk and scared, saying he'd call somebody he owed money to and thought he'd made a mistake. Then he called me. They found him behind a gas station 2 towns over, beaten so badly he never woke up. Everyone says the same thing, that I'm not responsible, that I was tired, that he trained everyone around him to not trust his emergencies anymore. All of that is probably true, but I was awake. I saw his name, and I let it ring. Another case, another story where I just cannot blame OP. I understand the burden of all of that is crazy, heavy to think about, but realistically speaking, it's not like he killed himself, He got beaten up by people that he owed money to. So what, was OP supposed to just go there and be beaten to a pulp as well? Die right next to his best friend? You just cannot blame yourself with things like that. But at the same time, I totally understand why you would blame yourself in a situation like that. So I just hope that OP is doing better now, and with time, hopefully he heals. Before we get on to the next story, I do want to say that I am working out of town, and so, if you haven't heard already, I am using a different mic. Hopefully it sounds good, and you may even prefer this one, so if you do, let me know down below. But with that said, let's go ahead and get on to the next confession. Confession 4. I went to the doctor today and paid with cash. I'm pregnant. I'm 17 and pregnant. I don't know who the dad is. I went to a party a few weeks ago, 8 to be exact. My best friend begged me to go with her, saying that I was being too stuck up. I've never been to a party before, mainly focusing on my clubs and work, and her words struck a chord with me, so I went. We were dancing together, drinking alcohol. I'm used to light drinking since my parents introduced me and my siblings to it around 16 to 17, depending on how outgoing their kid is. It's a safety precaution of, hey, this is what it's gonna feel like. Don't go bumping around the streets like this. Not to say they let us drink every day. The most we get is a light buzz under the council, and we only get that on a special occasion. That might have been unnecessary info, but I'm a mess right now, and the only reason why I have any grammar is because I'm typing this on my phone. Anyways, I started getting drunker and drunker, and my friends peeled away from me at one point, and this guy slid up to me. I can't remember what we talked about, but he was kinda cute, and I know that I danced with him at one point. The rest of it is a fucking blur. I can't remember anything else. I woke up naked with him in the guest room, and that's about it. My friend told me later that I told her that I found a hot guy and to not go looking for me or some shit like that. When I spoke to him, he said yeah, we had sex. Asked if we used the condom, and he said he thinks we did. He ended up dropping the bomb that he has a girlfriend, and to not mention this to her. I'm hungover and so confused, and I just had sex with someone for the 3rd time in my life and can't remember shit. So I just left after I got my clothes back on. I missed my period, felt different. It's hard to explain, but I felt so weird. No morning sickness or anything that the articles say, but just an awkward feeling. I thought it was just stress from work, or maybe getting sick. My periods are normally very punctual. They start early in the month and end 3 days in. I did not get my period for 8 fucking weeks, and I thought it was stress. I'm such a fucking idiot. Like, how did I not see any of the signs? Then I thought about it all. I decided that I didn't want to use a store-bought test because the ones in the stores around where I live aren't very good. I've heard a lot of people buying them and the tests say they're pregnant when they're actually not. So today, I went to the doctor and didn't use any insurance so that my parents didn't get a notification. I don't know how that works, but I didn't want to take any chances. And I explained to him everything, and he told me they'd test me. Surprise, surprise, I've got a baby in my uterus. What the fuck am I supposed to do? I'm sitting in my fucking car, and I was scrolling on Reddit because I'm chronically online and saw the confession board and I just needed to tell someone, anyone. So I made this account, and here I am. I don't know if I make sense anymore because nothing does. I'm pregnant and I'm 17 and I don't even know the guy's name, but I'm pregnant with his fucking kid and he has a girlfriend apparently, and I'm pissed off that my friends let me go somewhere with a guy, and I'm so fucking angry that I can't remember anything. If anyone has advice or anything, I'm going to be in my car for a little while longer. I don't think I'm going to abort, mainly because I know that if my parents get pissed off, they'll still support their grandchild no matter what, and it isn't the baby's fault their mommy is such a dumbass when she gets blackout drunk apparently. Sorry for this being so long, I just don't know anything anymore. Edit. I've been reading and commenting, and yeah, you guys are really fucking awesome. Genuinely. This helps a lot with working out my thoughts. To those of you saying to abort, I completely understand that, but I don't think I want to. About school, I'm more than willing to graduate early. I have enough credits. My friend / social life overall was shitty. The friend I told you about with the party and shit was pretty much the only person I talked to. Adoption wise, I think I'll look into that. I think I'm being way too optimistic about the idea of taking care of a child. I just don't know. I feel like sobbing, but I feel like doing nothing at all. I didn't get tested for anything transmitted, but now that you guys brought that up, I'll definitely schedule something because holy shit, I didn't even think about that. I have to go home. If I stay out any longer, they'll get worried. I think I'll talk to my parents then. I'm sorry for bringing this to Reddit and shit. I know I'm stupid about my choices and reasonings, but I just wanted to get all this shit off my chest. Thank you guys again. I may or may not continue to reply. If not, then I'm driving home. Now the Reddit account is a deleted account, so unfortunately, I can't really look into it and give you guys an answer as to what happened after this story. But reading some of the comments that the OP made, I think I can confidently say that most likely she kept the baby. So I hope everything is going well for OP. This post was made about a year ago, so most likely the baby would be a few months old. Confession 4. My 3.5-year-old died suddenly and unexpectedly. Ask me anything. I shared the story in another subreddit and have reposted it below. It helps me to share and answer questions about my experience, what happened, how I feel about it, about my daughter, how my family is coping, etc. All questions are welcome. Here's the story. My 3.5-year-old daughter died 1 month ago. It feels surreal. She was a perfectly healthy child. Here's the story. It started on a Tuesday afternoon. She came home from daycare after apparently having a great day and said her head hurt and she suddenly had a fever of 103.5. My husband decided to take her to the ER. They evaluated her and sent her home as her fever came down with medication. She ate dinner and seemed okay, but then started vomiting. I took her back to the ER at 8 p.m. They saw her again and then had me wait around to recheck her due to a high heart rate. She threw up several more times, every 20 minutes or so, but also drank a lot of water and peed. She eventually stopped vomiting and fell asleep at 11 p.m. We finally saw the doctor around 12:30 a.m. and he checked her whole body, no rash, and her neck, which was good. She seemed okay, other than being tired, and the vomiting had stopped. We both thought it seemed viral, and she was sent home. We got home around 1 a.m. The next day, she was very tired and sleepy. She slept most of the day while I worked from home. I checked on her every 30 to 45 minutes. She drank 2 small bottles of Gatorade, peed in her diaper, and responded to me when I talked to her. Her fever came back at around noon, and I gave her medication. She just seemed very tired and recovering from the illness. At 3 p.m., she got up off the couch and peed on the potty in the bathroom. I brought her back to the couch, and she went back to sleep. Then, at 3:50 p.m., she said she had to go poo. I brought her to the toilet. She had diarrhea, and when I went to clean/change her under the light, I noticed her skin was a bit blotchy. I then started observing her symptoms more closely, and she seemed unwell. Her hands were cold. Her breathing was a bit fast, intermittently. Her eyes were a bit red, and she just looked unwell. After calling my husband and doing a bit of research, she moved from the couch onto the floor, and I had a bad feeling and called 911, as I did not have a car at home. My husband ended up coming home before the ambulance arrived, even though it had been more than 25 minutes. So I took her myself to the closest ER. We got there at 5 p.m. They saw her immediately and seemed concerned. They took her back and started an IV and gave her fluids and antibiotics. Her vitals were good and she seemed stable. They said they were going to admit her, but she had to be transferred to the very well regarded Children's Hospital. Because she was stable, it was not an emergency. In the ER, I noticed small bruising and red dots appearing on her skin, which I now understand to be very early signs of DIC, severe blood clotting. She was transferred to the Children's Hospital at 7 p.m. and it did not seem urgent. The driver barely used the siren. Just before we got in the ambulance, I asked the doctor about her blood test results, and the doctor said they indicated sepsis. But on presentation, she did not appear septic. Apparently, her blood pressure collapsed in the ambulance, unbeknownst to me, as I was up in the front with the driver. When we arrived in the Children's Hospital around 7:30 p.m., she was in a septic/toxic shock, so they sedated and intubated her and transferred her to the ICU. They recommended that my husband come, which he did, and then they asked us to go in a waiting room while they set her up in the ICU. At 10 p.m., the doctor came in the waiting room and told us there's no easy way to say it, but she was probably going to die. They couldn't get her blood pressure up despite significant support and fluids. I didn't believe him. After my husband was able to see and talk to her, just after 10 p.m., her blood pressure suddenly came up. They said it was a good sign and it could go either way. We stayed beside her all night long, hoping she would make it. Her test results seemed to stabilize. We were so hopeful. However, around 3:30 a.m., the latest set of blood tests came back indicating her organs were failing, pH dropping, and lactate rising. They told us she was going to die. Her heart stopped at 6:30 a.m. while I held her in my arms. After the fact, her blood results indicated that she had invasive group A strep, IGAS. The illness is called streptococcal toxic shock syndrome, basically a very rare occurrence where an invasive form of strep A enters the bloodstream and causes a biological storm in certain, often otherwise healthy, people. There is no way to predict or prevent it, in some cases, likely hers. It is so fast and aggressive that even early intervention cannot stop the disease progression. Likely, once the first visible symptom of sepsis appears, it was already too late to stop. Apparently, this type of severe strep A illness is on the rise in recent years, since 2022, with higher pediatric deaths in many countries. My husband and I are devastated. We do have 2 other children, so that keeps us going. We are trying to be strong for them. The point of this post was just to share the story and the fact that sometimes you can seemingly do everything right, and you still cannot prevent loss. It is a really hard pill to swallow. For those who have kids or loved ones, please hold them tight. You never know when it may be the last time. This story is so incredibly sad and depressing. I mean, this is quite literally any parent's worst case scenario. An incredibly rare, yet seemingly on the rise, disease that once it starts, cannot be finished. I feel for the parents. I mean, they did everything right. There's a lot of parents who will see their kids sick and just say that they're sick, let them sleep it off, pray that they get better in a day or two. But these parents right away took them to the ER, and even when they came back home and they seemed to be more unwell, they went back repeatedly, even called the ambulance. And I think it's such a shame that they called the ambulance and the ambulance took longer than 25 minutes. I mean, that's sad. I mean, somebody could really be in need of help, and to wait 30 minutes, that's life or death right there. But yeah, another story of loss, yet this one hits hard in a completely different way. Confession 5. My sister slept with my boyfriend, and I sent her a really cruel message that I don't regret at all. So, a few days ago, I, F25, found out that my sister, 24F, has been sleeping with my boyfriend, now ex, 25 male. We dated for 3 years, for 1 year, or probably more. They always had a close relationship, but I obviously took it as something innocent. I don't like video games, but my sister does, so they talk a lot by text, and I thought it was about games they liked until I found out that no, they talked a lot about their secret dates while I was working and in college. I found pictures, videos, and a lot of other disgusting things in the chats between my ex and my sister. My pathetic sister found pleasure in asking my pathetic ex all the time if she was smarter or prettier than me. She even compared our private parts. What the hell? We're both pretty. She's actually thinner and prettier than me, and even if she is an introvert, she has a group of friends, so I don't really understand where she got so much venom towards me. Our parents never compared us or anything like that, and she's always the one asking my ex to compare both of us in the chats. The first thing I did was throw all my ex-boyfriend's things out the apartment. I insulted him in 1,000 ways, and I kept the PC that I gave him for Christmas. I didn't speak a single word to my sister for over a week, and she didn't contact me like the coward she is until yesterday, when she finally sent me a message trying to justify herself by saying it was a mistake. Yes, a mistake that lasted more than a year, and that I should forgive her because we're sisters and blah blah blah. At one point, I thought, should I be the mature person in this situation who doesn't let resentment speak for her? But then, I realized that I've never been that type of person. I took my phone and wrote a long message to my sister that I would love to write here, but I'm unsure that I would break the rules since I called her out in every possible way, and I wrote a lot of personal things too. I told her how much of a failure she is and how she's always envied me, and that's why she needed to feel what it's like to be me for a second of her sad life. She sent me a voice message crying and saying she's in a very weak moment mentally, but she's still with him, LMAO, and I shouldn't make her feel worse and that she regrets it. I just reacted to her message with a crying laughing emoji, and then I didn't hear the long voice message up until the end. Was it a low thing to attack her with all her flaws? Yes, but it's lower to betray your sister and believe she's going to forgive you just because you share blood with her. Honestly, I feel really good after sending that message and feel that it was therapeutic to take everything I feel to give closure to that. By the way, I never used a PC for gaming, but I'm looking for tutorials on YouTube about how to download The Sims. I helped my sister in every moment of her life. I literally fought for her when she was being bullied during high school. I helped her thousands of times to make friends. I even accompanied her wherever she wanted. It is a betrayal that really hurts and I will never forgive. Never. It hurts me that she slept with someone I love, but it hurts me a lot more reading all the things I read in those chats. How she enjoyed watching him compare me to her, or how she just asked about personal things about our relationship just to laugh at it. She's dead to me, and my parents know it. I don't even care if I'm a bad person like them. This is something I can't forgive, and I don't even feel bad for my reaction. I am completely on OP's side. I mean, how do you sleep with your sibling's boyfriend for an entire year, 1 whole year, and then expect them to give you an ounce of forgiveness after the fact? Honestly, the sister is extremely dumb, and if I was OP, I would also be extremely happy. I would completely cut off my sister if I was in her shoes, and I doubt anybody else would have any other reaction but that. And on top of that, not only do you cheat with your sister's boyfriend, you also constantly feel the need to compare yourself to her. Is that not kind of weird? In a weird way, I can see how like a random stranger could want to compare, but like, this is your sister. And as for the boyfriend, a complete piece of shit. I personally never understood cheaters. I don't get why you don't just break up with your significant other to get with somebody else or just to hoe around, but I'm not them, so I'll never be in this situation. But I think I'm gonna leave the video off there. If you guys enjoyed the video, of course, do not forget to leave a like and subscribe, and let me know down below in the comments what you thought about each story. I will personally read every single comment down below and maybe even give you a reply. But with that all said and done, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.